Hi everyone, my name is Emily and I'm the young adult librarian at the Rock Island Public Library, and today I have a book for you that is kind of seasonal, and it is called The Forgotten Girl. And this book takes place around the end of the year. I think it starts maybe like late November, goes into December. And in this book, we meet a girl named Iris, and she and her best friend Daniel live next door to each other. And they both love snow, which is a little bit tough because I believe they live in North Carolina. Yes, they do. And so they don't get a ton of snow, but sometimes, get a snowstorm. And so when they do, they'll go outside, have a snowball fight. Now, Iris and Daniel, on this particular night, in chapter 1, when the book is just beginning, they decide they're going to go across the street and just try having some snowball fight fun in the woods across the street from their houses. Now, there's other houses, like, in front of these woods. Like, it's a quiet neighborhood. And, Iris and Daniel have been told by their parents not to play in these woods, but they can literally see them. Like, they're right across the street. And they think, okay, we'll be quiet. We're gonna go out at night. Like, because their windows face each other in their houses, they're able to, like, signal each other with flashlights. And so they do this, go outside, and they're having a snowball fight. They're having fun. And the snow is beautiful. Iris, at one point, lays down, makes a perfect snow angel. And when she stands up, she is surprised to find that she just made a snow angel on top of a grave. And this is not, obviously, like a sticking up type of stone. This is a stone that was flush with the ground. That's why she didn't feel it. And the stone belonged to a girl named Avery Moore, who lived a long time ago. She would be roughly, for example, Daniel's grandma's age, but she was a little bit younger than Iris and Daniel when she died. So, at first the question obviously is, why is there a grave here? Like, this isn't a cemetery, it's just a patch of woods. What is this? Well, later, as they kind of start to look into this more, because at school, before the end of the calendar year, they have to do a project on local history. And Iris thinks that's great. I really want to figure out what the deal is with this grave anyway, so let's, learn more about it. And she and Daniel go to the library, and by this time they've gone back to the woods. They've kind of, swept up more of the snow, and they've found other graves. So it's not just Avery's, there's more there. And what they learn, Daniel's kind of I think looking at old newspapers on microfilm, he learns a couple things. And first off, this used to be a segregated cemetery. So unfortunately, in the past, even in death, segregation happened. And as people were buried in different places, as times changed. For example, Daniel's father is buried in the new cemetery in town. And Iris and Daniel are thinking, okay, the people who took care of this cemetery probably just, as people got older, maybe they retired or they moved away, and just people don't remember this place. So for their project, they want to make sure that the cemetery is remembered. Now, another thing they learn is that Avery Moore was actually one of the first students to desegregate their junior high school. And the two of them were thinking, wow, that's really interesting. Why isn't there something, some record of this? There should be a photo on the wall, at least, of these kids who did this. It wasn't that long ago. It was decades ago. But again, people remember this, people who are alive, including Daniel's grandma, because she knew this girl, it turns out. She was friends with Avery Moore. So, in the book, as time passes, Iris, she's having some weird dreams. And this is not the first time this has happened. Iris has some experience with, having nightmares. And she's at an age where she doesn't really want to still use a nightlight. She's, feeling that she's too old for it. But in this book, she starts having these dreams where it seems like Avery is talking to her. And she'll wake up sometimes and, her window will be open, which is weird because Iris doesn't remember doing that. But she's thinking, okay, maybe I was, tossing and turning in the night and, Mom opened my window a little bit while I was asleep. I don't know. I can't explain this, but there must be a logical explanation. But one night, Iris has the realest dream maybe she's ever had, and she's out in the woods with Avery. And Avery looks like this, like the girl on the cover here. This is sort of how Avery appears. And even though it's snowing, I mean, she's like not really dressed for it, but it's like dream logic, you know? It's like, well, that's fine, I'm dreaming, whatever. And Iris, too, is out there. Again, like not really dressed for snow, but Avery says, hey, let's have a snowball fight. So Iris says, yeah, sure. And they're running around, they're throwing snow. And in that way of dreams, eventually Iris is getting tired and she lays down. She lays down on the ground because she's like, okay, I'm going to take a little rest. Again, feeling very convinced that this is a dream. And in dreams, you can jump off buildings, you can fly. There's lots of things you can do, and there aren't any consequences because it's not real. But then somebody turns on a light behind one of the houses and sort of looks out the back door like, hey, who's back there? And Iris kind of starts, and she finds that she really is in the woods. This isn't a dream. And Avery is gone. Avery disappears. So it's just Iris, and she is not seen by the person who looked out the back of the house. But once they go back in and they turn off the light, Iris has to walk back across the street and knock on the door of her house. And her parents come down and they're like, hey, it's the middle of the night. Why are you outside? In fact, how did you get outside? We didn't hear you open the door and go out. And Iris has to say, I don't know. I just woke up and I was in the woods. I thought it was a dream, but it wasn't. Well, you can imagine Iris's parents don't immediately jump to, I bet a ghost did it. Instead, they're like, oh, honey, you know, you've been having these dreams. You were probably sleepwalking. You know, it's not a fun feeling to wake up in a strange place, but it's going to be okay. Like, let's just get you warmed up and you can go back to bed. But from this point on, like, especially as Iris and Daniel kind of compare notes about what Iris is experiencing, by the end of the book, it's clear that, oh, this isn't just something that Iris is dreaming, which initially that is what Daniel thinks, because, of course, like, he doesn't jump to the, I bet a ghost is stalking my friend. He's thinking, well, we're studying dead people for this project, you know, I bet it is just a dream. But no, Avery is real, and her ghost has been in the woods for a long time, and she's happy to have Iris remember her, to have anybody remember her, and trying to get the cemetery remembered. That's the good news. The bad news is that Iris would like to be friends. You know, she wants to help Avery out, and Avery wants that too. But Avery is dead, and so to her, it's not that big of a deal. And her whole thing is, if this living kid, Iris, is going to be my friend, really my friend, then she also needs to be dead. So the book is Iris and Daniel trying to figure out, how do we help this person? How do we make sure that her grave is remembered, that the cemetery is remembered, but also Iris doesn't want to become a ghost herself. So it's a really good book. If you like ghost stories, check it out. I listened to this audio at the start of this year. It's like a fun wintertime book. I think a lot of ghost stories, they're sort of taking place around the Halloween season, but this one is more like November, December. Like, it's wintertime, it's the end of the year, and you get different characters who have different feelings about both the weather. Like, Iris and Daniel like the snow, whereas Daniel's grandma, she doesn't. And, of course, she's lived a very different life than the kids that she knows. I mean, she grew up during segregation, and so for her, like, learning about Avery and what really happened to her is sort of important for, like, getting closure about something that happened when she was a kid, about Iris and Daniel's age. So, check it out. And thank you for watching. I will see you again soon.